You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Welcome, everyone, to another blockbuster edition of Global Trade This Week. I am Pete Mento, and with me is the indefatigable Doug Draper. Doug, how are you, buddy?
Pete, I'm doing well. I'm not even sure what that word means, so I'm kind of taking it as a compliment, question mark? I don't know.
Indefatigable means undefeatable. You are resilient and you do nothing but claim victory. You cannot be taken down, my friend.
Very cool. Yeah, nice. Well, Pete, we didn't talk about this, but I have to make mention because you and I get this platform to talk about logistics and supply chain, but also other things. So I have to give a shout out to my daughter who went to the Big 12 rowing championship, right? She was on the third boat, and her, long story short, is her team podiumed. They got second place. It's the first time a team from Kansas has podiumed at the Big 12 championship in 7 years, and my daughter was part of that boat. So, so nobody knows my daughter at all, but I'm giving her a shout out here on Global Trade This Week, and I'm very proud of her, and it's a great way to end her sophomore year in college.
Draper, family of champions. That's awesome.
Yes.
Well done. So how many ladies are in a boat? Is it a lot of, I don't know how many are in a full crew.
She's in the, you got, 8 or 4, and she was in the 8. And she was the stroke seat, which is the first person in front of the coxswain. So 3v8 stroke seat.
That's awesome.
That's about as good as I know. And it was streamed on ESPN Plus, so I was able to watch it. It was down in Austin, Texas. So
it's awesome, man. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. I had a lot to do with that.
Hey, now listen.
And by a lot, I mean 0.
Those genetics had to come from somewhere, my friend. So I think you should, proud father moment. Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, we are here to talk about the world of global logistics and economics and trade. We're brought to you by our good friends at Cap Logistics. To learn more about them, you can visit them at www.caplogistics.com. And because I did the intro, that means, Doug, my friend, you get to talk about the first topic this week. What do you got for us, buddy?
Yeah, we're going to ease into it a little bit, Pete. We're going to backload this one, but this is still a fun topic that I popped onto the other day. It's about a changing in the guard at the U.S. Maritime Administration. So there is a new sheriff in town, to say that, or a new admiral. I don't know what the right terminology would be there, but Phillips. 31-year active duty in the Navy. Rear Admiral was her rank whenever she left. So it's awesome. I love it. It checks a lot of boxes. She comes from some good pedigree, and I think it looks good. I'm not sure how much substance that she's going to bring to the table, and it's not necessarily her fault. It's just the tools that she's been given or not given. I put it in the Mayor Pete category with his appointment there. But the one thing that really caught my attention, Pete, and this one's kind of quick and an easy conversation, but the one thing that indicated is that there's $684 million in the Port Infrastructure Development Program that is now available for grants for different projects. And it was hyped as once in a generational investment. It helps ports and infrastructure, and some of that money will be redirected to port-related greenhouse gas emissions and reduction. So I started thinking about that, Pete, and I don't think $684 million is going to pay for the coffee and donuts of the labor to do any of this stuff, right? So, I mean, you look at all of the ports, all of the infrastructure, all of the carbon emission opportunities for reduction. $684 million is squat, and that is a big challenge. It's being hyped as a big number. In today's reality, when you're dropping around unicorn valuations of companies that haven't even made an automobile that's valued at $50 billion, $684 million is chump change. And I'm afraid she's going to walk in, try to do the best she can, but you can only work with what resources are out there. So it's a two-pronged comment here, Pete. One, Ann Phillips, congratulations. I wish you the best. The second prong is she's not getting a whole lot to work with to affect change, at least with the infrastructure in the transportation world here in the U.S. That's my take, man. What do you think?
Well, you're dead on, my friend. You know, when we start talking about where these folks are starting and where they need to go with environmental policy, congestion, modernization, trying to find ways to reintegrate different parts of the country that are growing. I mean, you've got shifts in population that are happening right now that we're probably not completely addressing. You look at a number like $680-something million, and it's hard for us to, as Americans, look at $680-something million and say, that's not a lot of money. Let's be honest, man. That's a crap ton of money. But not in reality when you start thinking about what it costs to run a port, what it costs to maximize the efficiencies of a port. The last time that we had to increase the efficiencies of an American port, we were talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars just for part of a port. This is nothing. It's a spit in the bucket. But I don't want to get too hyper-focused on that one part. You brought up a couple of great points here, bud. First of all, I am very excited that we have an admiral, someone who has been personally engaged in vessel operations. Okay. Second of all, I'm happy to have some fresh blood who has not been completely captured, regulatory captured by the government. I am on NSAC, and I'm precluded from talking about what goes on in the National Shippers Advisory Council meetings, and I won't. But I can tell you that tangentially, we do talk about things that matter. And we do talk about things that I believe are going to actually affect change. In these meetings, for what I see happening, people are listening. I believe that the FMC is actually getting heard. And I think that the people that are involved in actually shipping cargo are being listened to, whether those are shippers themselves or ocean carriers. I really do believe that. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the leadership, and I think a lot of it has to do with the people that are managing these conversations. And I think it's nothing but welcome change. Now, if they'd listened to what you just said, which is we have to dump as much money as we possibly can into infrastructure, that would be probably the most meaningful change that we could make. All the studies that have ever been done, all the studies that will ever be done are going to point over and over again to the same major problem. We simply do not invest enough in infrastructure because it's just not sexy. And until we make a real big play on that, it's just not going to change, man. It's not going to change. I've gotten bored with us saying that over and over again. I don't know if listeners are too, but it just keeps coming back to the same problem over and over again, Doug. We don't invest in it because I don't think that we value it as a society.
Yeah. Well, maybe a public-private partnership will, more of those, I think, are going to expedite improvements. So,
couldn't agree more.
Anyway, there we go. Yeah. All right, my friend, what you got for topic one?
Crypto! Yeah. I can just see Keenan again. Do you think that when crypto was crapping down its leg last week that someone had to sedate Keenan? Do you think that Keenan was somewhere in his bunker out in the woods where he writes his manifesto, just shaking like a mental patient, just like crying, watching his portfolio just fall apart, Fascinating thing, right? So El Salvador took the unprecedented step of directly linking a public debt financial instrument to cryptocurrency last year. And they did that because they saw it as a way to, in a very modern way, raise money and a little novel at the same time. But it blew up in their face last week when Bitcoin threw up all over itself and went below $30,000. Now it's making a bit of a recovery. buy the dip, bro. And we'll see where it continues to go as markets continue to vomit forth failure. And as many of us predicted, crypto does not become a safe haven against recession and does not become a safe haven against other more common methods of dealing with currency issues. El Salvador now finds itself in an absolutely terrible debt bubble. So a lot of people are looking at this and saying, this is just a disaster. But there's also a lot of people who are looking at this and saying, could be a heck of an opportunity. This could be an opportunity for someone to come in there and purchase a crap ton of debt that it could be worth a lot somewhere down the road when Bitcoin stabilizes and regains itself. This is a fascinating opportunity. Now, I am a unapologetic monetary and economics nerd. I can't help myself. Well, I'm boring. But what we're seeing is the first ever opportunity of where these two worlds are colliding, economics and politics on a crypto level, where normally all the levers and everything, we kind of already know where this would all go. We have no idea where this is going to go. So it's going to be fascinating to watch as it begins to recover, as it begins to retain value. The people who decided to buy this en masse, they could be in for one hell of a payday down the road. Now, if it's a country like, say, China, that might not be such a good thing. So it's going to be really fascinating to watch. Yeah. But again, Keenan is probably just sitting there, just stomping, wishing he could tell me how wrong I am. But this is a fascinating topic, my friend.
Well, when your mic gets cut off and you're talking and somebody's like, you're on mute, you'll know why. So, but, it's interesting to see who's going to come in. It's funny that we together, you more than myself, bashed the whole crypto concept of it, but yet you said somebody needs to come in and buy the crypto debt, which is almost contrary to all the things that you've spoken about. But I think, a government coming in to come to the rescue and position themselves in that part of the world and take a flyer on it could potentially.
And China's already doing that. They're already investing all over the place in South America, just like they do with Belt and Road. So why wouldn't they try to overinvest in I don't want to say a toxic asset, but certainly, a depreciated one, and get in there now and have a tremendous amount of sway on a country not so far away from the U.S. So not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And that, my friend, brings us to halftime.
Yes, of course. And the halftime brought to us by Cap Logistics. Visit them at caplogistics.com. Supply chain, logistics, getting stuff from A to B. Holy crap, I need this widget to get to this place right now. They can take care of that for us. So thanks, Cap Logistics. All right, man, I'll go first. I'm excited about your halftime, so we're going to have you roll us out of here. But I came across something, Pete, that said that the most recently, there was another award show that you may not have heard of in the past. It's actually called the Trader Joe Customer Choice Awards. It's not hosted. It's all done online, which kind of seems a little bit weird, but that's just how Trader Joe's rolls. And I'm going to go through a couple of categories here. I have no idea how these were put together. It could have been some voting online. It could have just been somebody arbitrarily throwing it out there. But a couple of these things you can find in my refrigerator right this very moment. So the overall winner of the Customer Choice Awards at Trader Joe's is the Mandarin Orange Chicken. I have a bag of that in my freezer right now. Love it. Doesn't surprise me. Drink. This one, Pete's a little funky. Non-dairy oat beverage. That's literally what it's called. Non-dairy oat beverage. So you can kick that thing out of I don't even know what that is. Snack. It is peanut butter filled pretzels. You kind of get that. That's your savory. The dessert, which I actually have some because my kids are coming home from college, mini ice cream cones. It's ice cream cones that are ice cream that's already on a cone. You throw it in there, they're real small. Love it. But the key thing, Pete, I want to know where the hell the JoJo's are. Those are the cream-filled cookies. and they're right above the mandarin orange stack when you walk right into the frozen area. Look down, there's your mandarin. Look up, there's your JoJo's. So whoever put this list together totally botched it out with JoJo's. But there you go. That is the Trader Joe Customer Choice Awards.
Are you a weekly Trader Joe's shopper, Doug?
No, as much as I was excited about that, I'm not like a freak Trader Joe passionate type of person. It's usually pretty busy. Anyway, no, I'm not.
We have,
You?
I had not been, that has recently changed. So we have, I think we only have a couple of them here in New Hampshire. But we have one, which is across the parking lot from Whole Foods. And I'm totally captured by Whole Foods because I'm a snob when I cook. I have to have really good fish. I have to have really good meat. Don't have a very good butcher. Don't have a very good fishmonger. So I go to Whole Foods for a lot of my fish. And I was never really a Trader Joe's guy. And having to get snacks for the daughter, we would head over to Trader Joe's to pick up stuff for her. And I'm like, wow, I'm kind of a snob and that I've never gone into this place. They got really good snacks, man. I mean, I'm on this awful carbless lifestyle or, low carb lifestyle. They have excellent like snack nuts like peanuts and cashews and the pre-seasoned, like pre-marinated meats and stuff. And then what really got to me was like the pre-done vegetables in the bag, anyway, I had never given the place a chance. And what got to me was the scarcity factor. So the fact that they'll have stuff for a little while and then they won't. And knowing that, I will buy as much of it as I need, or I'll take all of it. I'll take all 15 bags of something and bring it home because I'll be damned if I'm not going to have it. So I'm the jackass when you go to the Trader Joe's in Bedford. And you're like, where are all the blistered peanuts? Some 6'1" gorilla just came in here and took them all, and that's me. That was me. Like today, Amy does the Weight Watchers chocolate fudge bars, and we can never find them. And I went to the grocery store today, and they had 5 boxes of them. I took them all because I can't ever find them. So I'm that guy. I'm the reason why places like Trader Joe's always have scarcity issues because I take them all. I'm not gonna not have them. But I like the place now, and I do go and. I'm kind of a Trader Joe cat now, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, I love your halftime bed. It's coming up. I got a wall calendar over here, not on my computer, but a wall calendar. I'm looking at the date. That's an important date coming up. So let her.
So I went to a school, a military college that is primarily for men and women who want to go to sea, and nearly all of them end up, at the time, it's not the case anymore, but at the time end up going in the Navy, either as a full-time career officer or as a reservist. And as fate would have it, I got out of high school in the mid-'80s, and I went to this school in the late 80s. And that meant that a significant portion of the dudes that I went to Maine Maritime Academy with wanted to fly jets. Not just any jet. They wanted to fly F-14s, and they wanted to be Maverick or Iceman or Jester, right? And kids, back when Doug and I were young, we used to watch movies on something called VHS tapes. There were no CDs, we watched things on tapes. And we had to watch freaking Top Gun over and over and over again. It was a quintessential film. And back in the 80s, a lot of the films that I remember from when I was young, they had a lot to do with, positive American image, fighting against this whole Soviet expansion concept. You had Red Dawn, you certainly had Top Gun. And a lot of the films that I remember growing up were about just America was the good guys, Russians were the bad guys. And we grew up wanting to fight commies for Jesus. That was just the way it was. So I'm at this school in the middle of nowhere in Maine, and a significant portion of the men that I went to school with were going to grow up. They were going to date Kelly McGillis. They were going to get a Ninja and the big leather bomber jacket and the shades, and they were going to go fly F-14s, and they were going to go inverted and give the mid the finger, and they were going to fly F-14s. Now, when I tell you, Doug, that we watched this movie so often that there were guys I went to school with, like Steve Wargo and Dave Schumacher. These cats could quote the film from beginning to end. I'm not exaggerating. From beginning to end. And then they would go on coachman and stuff, and guys would be on aircraft carriers and stuff. And some of them actually got to fly on F-14s and got to fly jets. Now, because of the way the Navy worked, it was you kind of went where the Navy needed you. So when most of my classmates graduated during Desert Storm, many of them did not go jets. Many of them went rotary. Most of my classmates ended up flying helicopters. So that's just the breaks. So I do not have a lot of classmates that got to fly jets, get their Ninja. But this weekend, the sequel to Top Gun comes out. Long awaited. We've been waiting like 2 years for this thing to come out. We're not fighting the Russians anymore. I don't believe we're even fighting the Chinese because they wanted this thing to come out in China, right? So I think we're fighting the North Koreans, I think. But Maverick's back. I think Goose's kid is the Pete Mitchell in this one. And I think Iceman's even in it. I don't know, But from all reports, they're saying that the sequel is better than the original. And I don't know if I can believe that. But I'm being told,
possible.
Exactly. I'm saying that's not even possible. But people are saying that the sequel to Top Gun is better than Top Gun. Now, I'm going to go. I'm going to go see it in the theater. Me and Mrs. Trade Geek are going to show up. We're going to get the big 25-gallon soda. We're doing it all up. I'm going to have some carbs, maybe some popcorn. I don't know. But I'm going to go, and it's going to be really hard to convince me that the second one's better than the first one. Doug, are you excited for the new Top Gun? And could you ever admit that the second one's better than the first one?
First of all, super stoked about Top Gun for all the reasons that you just said. I can't name it top to bottom, but I'm just thinking of all kinds of things. Probably the worst visual of that movie is Anthony Edwards with a shirt off in the volleyball scene. If you see that guy now, you're like, that's not good at all.
Not good at all.
But we'll see. I don't know. Let's go check it out. That'll be a topic after it rolls. Is it out this weekend or is it Memorial Day weekend?
It's out the 24th. That's Memorial Day weekend, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Working on international relations. I was given the bird. I know the bird, Goose. I know the bird.
Nice.
Yeah. A bunch of guys on ships. We would be in our truck whites and bars singing "You Lost That Love and Feeling" to random girls. I mean, it was an important part of being a midshipman in the 1990s. It was a big deal. But we're using too much time here, so we should probably move on to other topics. Every guy in their 40s and 50s and 60s, that was like, that was late 40s, I guess. That was an important movie, man. So we'll see.
Yeah. So, I'll jump into to my last topic. Again, mine are kind of short for this week. But anyway, I did make mention on our post last week that we'd kind of get back to some transportation topics because there's a lot of transportation. I put junkies in my post, but I meant nerds. So I kind of wrote nerds, then I backed away from that. But this is for all the junkies and nerds out there. We're going to talk a little transportation, specifically LTL business. I saw two reports that I think it was over the weekend. Literally one was like right on top of the other as far as the PR wire. And one said that SAIA was in the process of opening up 10 to 15 terminals in 2022. And Yellow is closing 9 terminals by this summer. So you have 2 LTL companies in an amazing seller's market for logistics and transportation on all levels. One of them says the way to go in the future is to expand. Another one says the way to go in the future is to contract. But they're both playing in the same market. Now, I know it's not as simple as that. And the question is, which one is right and which one is wrong? And can they both be right? And I think, it's just 2 different approaches as this goes. I think that SAIA is trying to pivot into more of a premium carrier. And so pricing is important, but service is as important. And when you're in a premium carrier, so I think they're morphing towards that. And this show is not to get into all those specifics. And then Yellow is flipping. They're not only changing the terminology from an LTL terminal, they're now going to be call them velocity throughput centers, which to me basically means if the freight has nowhere to sit, it's not going to sit. So if there's not enough places to stick it in the corner until we figure this thing out, and it's got to only flush out and continue to move through the network, that is an idea to say, let's shorten the transit time and get it to the consumer. So I could see both of them. The one piece, Pete, that I'll leave you with on here is that both of the companies made mention that they spent a lot of money in what they would call purchased transportation, primarily in final mile, which means, holy shit, we have so much stuff coming through our network, we don't have enough drivers to make that final mile delivery, so they contract that out. Both of them saw that aspect of their business skyrocket last year, and so both indicated that that's something they need to get their hands around. So SAIA is expanding, Yellow is contracting, going to velocity throughput centers, which is we got to figure out how that fits into the new Top Gun movie. Two different approaches, but both agree that they're spending too much money on final mile. Let's see how it shakes out. I think it's an interesting ploy or position.
Has anybody else adopted either one of these other than those two that you know about?
Adopted what? Approaches like that?
Yeah, the same philosophy. Or are those the only two that have adopted it?
The only two that I've seen written about. I'm sure there's others out there that could chime into the post to say, well, these guys are doing that and those guys are doing that. But yeah, as far as what I've seen out there, those are the two.
Because that's a really big financial gamble to make on what seem like relatively novel ideas, particularly in a market like this where the safe place making everybody fortunes. And that's the part I couldn't quite figure out when I was reading about it. Why would you make such a big stray when everyone's getting rich in this market? That's the part I couldn't quite get my head around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that SAIA, this is me personally, I think it's a little marketing pitch that they're trying to transition from, we're a carrier, a premium level carrier, because there are multiple tiered carriers in the market. You know that, I know that. You pay these guys if you can deal with our service, you're going to love our price type of approach. There's carriers like that, and then there's the higher end. So I think SAIA is trying to pivot, seeing the opportunity to do that. And I don't know how many restructurings Yellow has gone through, but I can't count enough on my hands and toes. So this is just another example. They're not a bad company. I'm not disparaging them. I'm just saying it seems like they're always reorganizing something in their world.
And now we're going to have XPO and what's left of it for by the time they're done selling everything off.
I know that's a good topic to cover. So, all right, man, bring us home.
Oh no, you're going to. Oh, that's right. It's my topic. Oh, I thought yeah. So my last topic is a fun one for me. So it's about to become extremely expensive to be a Russian flag vessel. There's no other way to put it. Marine insurance is becoming almost unaffordable given the fact that they're in a full-blown shooting war. There are questions about the safety of vessels, whether or not they're actually operating in what can be considered military operations, and the financial stability of the companies that are operating them. So we're beginning to see the marine insurance costs just creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. And then get this, I didn't know this number, about 13% of all the sailors at sea right now, Russian, and about 4% Ukrainian. And now they're not coming home. So how do you pay people if you're working on a vessel that has Russian sailors, but you're precluded from making payments electronically? How do you bring them back on your ship if you're not allowed to hire Russians? And then Ukrainians can't go home. So how are they getting home? How are they coming back? How do you get them relief? It's becoming harder and harder to operate those vessels. And it's becoming a real issue back and forth. You also have engineers that are Ukrainian, engineers that are Russians that were doing maintenance. You have a lot of Russian ship repair facilities, maintenance facilities that people can't call on anymore. Russian vessels that went to Russian facilities and that had factories that made the repair goods and merchandise to repair these vessels. Man, I'm telling you, this war is actually starting to put hell on Russian oil tankers that were moving to the places that were still buying Russian oil. And it didn't take long. Think about it. It's only been a couple of months this war's been going on. people don't realize that when these vessels put out to sea, the ocean really puts hell on those ships and the people that are working on them. So 14%, man, 14 to 15%, depending on who you look at the bare minimum. That's not including officers. There are at least that many people are at sea right now, and with the relief, it's probably closer to 17% come from Russia and the Ukraine. And that's a huge chunk of the ocean-going personnel they're in flux. So that's gonna be another thing that's gonna make it more expensive out there on the oceans, buddy.
Pete, interesting comment. I like it. But what I have read about this is that Russian are changing their flag and jumping over to like the Marshall Islands or some other flags and saying, well, we're officially not Russian flagged vessels anymore. And I'm kind of like, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it probably is. Insurance is not going to buy that. So that's all fine and good, but I don't think that's a long-term solution.
And particularly when they have a casualty. The first time that happens, that's all going to go out the window, buddy. You're going to get caught.
Yeah. Should be. Last question for you, Pete, and then I'll sign us off here. Do you ever think that, specific to fuel and petroleum and oil, that a vessel would just sail, a Russian vessel would just push off and not have a destination and look for people to bid the highest price and say, we'll go over there and sell it to you?
It would be a bad decision, man. Honestly, if you could get away with it. I just don't know how they would affect payment. The Chinese right now are sincerely starting to work out this new alternative to SWIFT. It's got a chance. The cost of oil right now costs us $77 to fill up Amy's Volvo today. Made me think about it. So we're getting to the point right now where hopefully this Iranian deal gets sealed up so the Indians can buy their oil from Iran and we can finally put the screws to Russia and get this thing fixed. But I don't know. Alternatives might be out there. Wouldn't be such a bad idea to think about it.
We'll see. Well, they could pay for it with crypto. I mean, that's a blockchain technology.
Crypto!
And with that, that's the snare drum and the hi-hat. Da-da. So we're going to shut this party down for the week, Pete. Thanks for joining us. I want to thank Cap Logistics for putting all this together. Keenan, we give you a hard time. Mostly Pete gives you a hard time. I just kind of chuckle along.
True story.
But thanks for putting everything together, Cap. You're great supporters of the team. So I think that's it. So until next week, Pete, thanks for joining me. Travel safe, and we will see everybody next week. Thanks for listening.
Go Celtics. See ya. Bye.